Hello, everyone. This is oneself Afqir, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. We're happy to have you with us today on this live call. And yeah, we did this in a little bit earlier than usual. And yeah, later the next time we will be back to the normal live call times. And yeah, as I said, we're happy to connect again live. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for those also who will be either watching or listening to the replay. And also very happy that Ambujam Rose is back on the show. She joined us last month, and this is our second call of this current season. And yeah, the last time it was really powerful, as maybe most of you watched or experienced. And today we will go like much deeper, and it will be, how to say, it will be related to the group, but also at the same time specific to each and every one, because the healing and the guidance that Ambujam shares, it always feels like it's very specific to the person receiving, even though we are in a group. And this is the same experience is experienced through her group power healings. That's, yeah, I really love, and they have been helping me a lot through the years. And yeah, so today Ambujam will be do a group reading, and based on that, she will be sharing accelerated healing. And then we'll take questions from you guys. So we will be taking as much as we can today. And for that, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand. And if you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes, both on YouTube and Zoom app. And yeah, so for those of you who are new to Ambujam, she is a quantum energy healer, awakening and self-embodiment activator, wayshower, and guide. And yeah, so Ambujam, welcome back. Happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Monsi. Hi, everybody. It's so good to be with you guys. And I want to, for this show, I felt it was appropriate, and Monsef and I texted about it, that I really wanted to just be in the moment with you guys and tune in for what topics want to be discussed of what's going on, energetically, spiritually, the activations on the planet. What is it that we actually need to know today? And so we'll dive into that. And then when we're together like this, there's always just spontaneous shifts and healings. And the foundation of my work is to self-empower you and to really assist in you just being in who and what you really, 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 really are, and finding that north, because we need it more than ever, right? How do we navigate all these changes and the choppy seas of not just our own awakening and our own healing, but the energetics that are going on are just so constant that we just need that foundational place inside to know how to come back to over and over and over and over again. And so the whole basis of my work is to help you clear, reconcile, and understand the old self, we could say, super fast, and help that true self come out and keep embodying you, and then clear the stuff super fast and embody. And within you, within all of us, is, we could say, our super consciousness, the parts of us that know everything about us and know our soul history, our choices that we've made that we don't remember in this life, that are creating our past experiences to keep repeating. And it can be either, internal or external, right? And so with the awakening that we're going through, everything that is not the truth of who you are, that is not that, that light, that self-awareness, that consciousness, is coming up to heal, understand, reconcile, and complete. And this process is 24/7, right? It's constant. So the super consciousness within you could say all these parts of you when we all work together like this, we collaborate, it's effortless. We don't try to work together. We could say when we're in this space, your super consciousness, my super consciousness, it's like it just comes forward and we just start to collaborate, and all this information starts pouring in about what is happening for you, the very specific aspects of you that are related to what you're going through in this moment. What do they need for faster healing, understanding, completing, reconciling? So it's always this huge buffet, and I never know what we're going to do. And like today, I have no idea. And so once we could say start, I'm going to tune in with you guys. That collaboration will start, and your beings and your teams and spirit will bring whatever we need, today for that accelerated healing, for that self-empowerment, for grounding into that north and aligning. So you want to say anything, Monsef, before we just I'll just tune in and see what it is we want to discuss and talk about? And
no, for now, just very excited about what we'll be bringing. So
okay.
Thank you. I will comment after this.
Okay. So I'm just going to connect in with you guys now. And, they're truly, when we work together like this, there's not like a time limit. So the replay is just like a live session. So when I tune in like this, I'm tuning into who's here right now. And then there's like larger us, we could say, that will be here. So the first thing I want to talk about, so this is very, very specific. Oh, so September, once we hit September, it is an energetic shift and rounding the corner into 2024. There's this image right now that I need to talk about. And I could say it's about the changes in your soul that are happening. There's this image of, we could say everything up to 2023, let's say, is kind of this energy like this. And behind this is everything up to this very moment, and the September energy when it activated. From here forward is 2024, let's say. So it's October, November, December, going into next year. What we need to talk about is this point in time where your soul is at in its transformation, its shift, its embodiment of who it really is, we could say. The soul body, so I just need to describe this of how I see things, and I'm super going to simplify it, okay? So how I see things is, let's say this is source or God or creation itself, whatever words we have to call this thing that really can't be named, of that which we all come from, right? So there's this image of source. And then as source starts to incarnate, we could say as me, right? Source starts to incarnate into the soul body. And before the soul body, there's countless energetics that are going on to birth itself into a form. So the soul body is not who and what we really, really, really are, because who and what we really, really are is, we could say, before the soul body. It's all, it's source. It's creator, it's creation. The soul body is a form, a very high energy form, let's say, that all this energy then starts to come into. Then after the soul body, there's all these energy bodies, right? And it's not linear like this, but this is the easiest way I can describe it. And we start to have our experiences. We start to have thought. We start to have emotion. We start to have this feeling of, I'm now separate from that which I came from, right? Because it feels separate. So we've lived thousands and countless lifetimes as all of these incarnated energies: soul, energy bodies, emotional body, mental body, physical body, and other forms we've lived in, right? That aren't Earth. The soul body is what I'm talking about right now, of the major, major, major change it's going through, which kicked off in a whole new way in September. The soul body, in its own way, we could say, is awakening to who and what it really is. So awakening happens on so many levels, right? It's kind of like a spectrum. So the soul is becoming self-aware in a way it never has before. As it's becoming self-aware on these, we could say, higher levels or deeper levels, it's making these very core foundational choices right now of who am I on this deeper level, and who do I want to be? How do I want to express this level of self-awareness of that which I really am? So, and again, these things to describe is kind of challenging because it's not a concept, and yet I have to describe it, right? So this next part's kind of challenging to describe. The level of self-awareness that your soul is coming into is very different than its expressions up until 2023. It's not that the soul was like, duh, I'm just a dummy. I don't know who I am and I'm living my life before 2023. That's not it either. It's a deeper level of self-awareness. So everything that your soul has expressed, been, and chosen to experience before into 2023 is kind of ending, because the soul's self-awareness needs to express on these deeper levels. And so we could say its wise self, its self-aware self is seamlessly understanding, reconciling, completing its old choices that no longer, quote, fit or align with this deeper level of self-awareness, self-aware. So on a soul level, the soul body is quickly releasing the old, feeling and experiencing its deeper level of self-awareness, and then choosing what it, quote, wants to do, wants to be, and wants to experience from this level of self-awareness. And it's all happening very, very, very quickly, simultaneously. Because the soul is in the midst of all these choices, your human self right now can feel very off kilter, not sure what end is up on these deeper levels, because we've felt like this since we started to wake up, right? We're like, what? I feel weird, right? My life isn't working in the same way, right? So the levels that I'm talking about of where this kind of off kilter feeling is of really experiencing like a lot of unknown right now, and a lot of I cannot control my life on these deeper levels is because the soul is shifting, we could say, quote, who it wants to be from self-awareness. And so then it's trickling all the way through all lifetimes, all significant lifetimes of where all this old stuff is reconciling. It's trickling through, rippling down into the human world, because it's really one big you, just different frequencies of you, right? We could say soul body all the way to the human body and all the bodies in between. Because this change is so foundational, the human experience right now is really messy and can be terrifying at times, completely blissful and peaceful at times. The mind does not know how to navigate this level of choice that's going on deep within you. So we could say, even though the soul body is an energy body, it's still here, right? It's in you. Everything's within you. But to describe it, I have to describe it like it's, here's the soul body and here's the human body. But really, it's one big fat you. So because of this just deep internal change that's happening right now, this is what we want to talk about. This is what we want to work with today. This is what we want to bring guidance through and for. So I think I'll stop there for a mo. And if you guys want to type in anything to what I'm sharing, Montse, if you want to say anything, and then we can go into the deeper guidance that wants to be there, that really your super consciousness will bring through, everybody's will bring through. So that's what I want to say to start. It's a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, and yeah, it explains it really clearly. And yeah, everyone, if you have any comments, you can type it on the chat box. And so the question is like, if we experience the resistance now, is it more like toward letting go of the old that we are used to and the old choices? And the more we, how to say, we let go, the more the experience becomes more easier.
Yeah, more fluid.
Yeah,
And
more fluid.
the resistance you're speaking about, and there's an image of there's many levels of resistance. We could say on the course, deepest level is what you're speaking to of, it's almost like a, it's because it's beyond the mind. It's like some part of the energy system is like, it doesn't know how to let go that deeply, we could say, mentally, into this shift. So on a chorus level, the resistance is like it's an energetic in the system consciousness that's like, it just doesn't know what to do. It will let go, like we always do at some point, right? And then there are these other levels of resistance that are very, we could say, human. And the ego is, I do not and I will not change to be that. It's almost like the ego needs to matter so much. It looks at all this like deep change and shift, and it's like, no, because where am I in all of that? Where am I? I need to matter. So that's a level of the resistance too. And then there's other levels of inner child stuff that's like these really deep wounds, or where people have been like very open and psychic as a kid, and whatever they were experiencing from that openness, that innocence, and there was some sort of trauma on those, like whatever was going on the human level, that part that was so open and so relaxed, like it's so normal to be relaxed like that and open, those parts like had to just kind of close down a little bit, like an aperture almost, like you can close the camera, like close it down. So the camera never goes away, but you can close the viewfinder, you know? And so these parts, when you're talking about the resistance, that's what's coming up too, is like these layers of, yeah, let's just do some healing for that. Because inner child's like, oh. So it's talking to me now. So let's do some healing, you guys, of where, when you were so open as a kid, so innocent and open, and then trauma happened on whatever level. And it wasn't safe to be open like that. So it's time to heal there now. And there's no forcing, like we don't just bring healing to the inner child like that. We meet them, we listen, like, what do y'all need to feel heard, first of all? You know, so this like inner child part of you guys is, it's like, it needs to be heard of like, well, what happened? Why did you, quote, shut down on those levels? Or feel like it wasn't safe to be that open self. And so the inner child is talking to me about, well, this happened and that happened and then this. Oh, and then that. And mommy said it wasn't safe, not with her words, but energetically. You can't just be open. You got to be human, and you got to be, you know. And so it's so interesting, like our little ones inside, like they're so pure. And then life happens. And then our psyche takes over, right? So we're just doing some healing right now in these little inner selves. And then also some healing on this greater resistance, or this beyond the mind's understanding resistance of letting go that deeply in the nervous system. You know, how does the nervous system just be like, oh, who I really am is this. So calming. So it's like the nervous system in the human body has learned to be a human, we could say, on a certain level. It's learned to be, quote, limited in its consciousness and just be very, human. And it's like within all of us, the nervous system knows how to be the one. It knows how to be its original, self. So we're working with that too, to just kind of meet the nervous system where it is, letting it know, hey, you're actually returning to who and what you really have always been anyway. It's so good, So we're just doing some healing on that too. And then Spirit's saying that you all came here for this lifetime. You came here to witness and to also be a part of this great awakening that we're going through. That's extremely difficult and challenging. And the closer to the truth, we could say, the greater world gets towards, the louder the stuff is, just like our own internal path, right? So we're witnessing that in the world. And the Spirit's just reminding you how you, quote, heal the world is you heal thyself. Know thyself. That's the path. That's the path, right? We all been there. We all know when we try to help someone, we try to heal them from our emotional attachment, like that don't work so well, right? And how do we know that? Because we've tried over and over and over. And then at some point we're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is rightful anymore. So I feel like we're just going to be in this accelerated healing, just kind of going wherever it needs to go right now, wherever there's a tightness, a resistance, a fear, of letting go that deeply into that self-awareness that the soul is becoming. Then on another level, on this really subtle level, as the soul is like working with us now too, we could say, and just like, it's like this image of the soul body is all this self-awareness that it's experiencing is kind of like, I don't want to say the word channeling it because the soul isn't doing that exactly, but it's almost like it's streaming that self-awareness out, because as we're doing all this accelerated healing in all these other places of aspects of you, it allows the soul body also to let go more too, and almost become more feeling in its choices versus kind of thinking, even though that's not how exactly I want to describe it. Because the soul's so busy right now, lack of a better word, figuring it out. Who am I now? Who am I? What is it I want to experience from here? And now, as we're doing all this accelerated healing and all these other aspects of you, it's just allowing the soul body to be like, because again, it's one big fat you. You touch one spot, everything moves, right? So the soul, its deeper self-awareness is like expressing now. It's like it's streaming out, it's emanating. And on these really subtle levels, this experience of, like, on a very spiritual level, we could say it's past lives experience with God, that it didn't do its purpose right, so it thought, or its purpose was too daunting, or it feels like it's going to mess it up, or it won't be able to do it right. Like, it's a kind of experience like that in kind of a handful of lifetimes. And we could say this soul kind of was like, I didn't do it right. God doesn't like me anymore. Like, kind of like that. And I'm super simplifying it because it's an emotional kind of feeling like that. And so as the soul is like expressing this self-awareness energy, kind of around the soul are these little spots of energy of where these past life experiences have been. And it's like, it can't help but realize itself and let go, realize itself and let go. Because it was a story, let's say, that the soul thought it messed it up, or God doesn't like it anymore, right? So these stories are kind of popping from this self-awareness. So it's just really interesting. And that's just so subtle up there. And then Spirit's describing what's going on like this too. They're saying, imagine living in one color your whole lifetimes, just one color, and all the gradients of that color. And you've had countless experiences as this color. Well, 2023 is the end of that color. And you're becoming a whole new color. So, what does the mind do with that? Right? It doesn't know yet how to be that. It will, The other thing too, I want to say about 2024, so we're just kind of in this healing. And Spirit has said this before, but it's just on a deeper level now. There's going to be a lot of information that's shared about the energies and about things and about, just about everything. And just your own discernment is going to need to be dialed in even more about what fits for you, what doesn't fit for you, what just doesn't feel true, what does feel true. And so they're just mentioning, keep dialing in. And actually what comes up about that, so as you dial in your discernment, one of the things that's really hard to discern through is when we're in trauma, we can't discern from there because we're not in our truth. We're in trauma response. And so let's say that trauma is like wearing a colored glasses and we see everything through that color, through that trauma, right? So as you deepen your as you deepen your self-discernment and your clarity, there are these really old traumas that start moving out of the heart energy. Is just part of it. Can't help it. It's just time to heal more deeply as you're clearer. So right now we're kind of doing a little healing too on the old traumas that have kind of been like an echo, I guess, around the emotional heart. So that's really interesting. As you discern deeper layers of healing come up to clear the way to discern deeper. So it's just really interesting. So, just the kind of echo of trauma can be experienced more often that we can't quite name, but we feel trauma-like, trauma-y, because your levels of truth are deepening, which brings up, the old crevices of the stuff that's been sitting there. So I'm just going to focus a little bit more on the healing, and then I want to hear from oneself and you guys. And so as I started sharing what I was seeing in the very beginning of the September thing, and then the soul going through a shift, and then 2024, October, November, December, into 2024, that's very original image now I'm seeing is back. And the soul now is like, kind of, it's like, okay, now we can just go forward easier. So now it's going forward easier. It's just easier now because we're lubing everything up, we could say, And then that soul awareness that's going on is now activating in you, human you, more in the physical body. It's just doing it. And the soul is saying, I am beyond your imagination. I am beyond all things known. It's like, I am you, you are me. We are this, says the soul. Yep. So soul's going forward a little bit now, kind of leaping forward more quickly. And we're just going to kind of clean up a little bit now, just kind of clear. Because now the image that I first saw of where the soul was, it's now moved forward, and which means your human moves forward, which means everything moves forward that's connected to all this. And so it's like everything's moving forward now, and I'm kind of behind everything. It's kind of completing with what's there, and just doing ceremony and saying, goodbye to whatever we're saying goodbye to, and just moving forward. And so because of the shift that's going on, not just in this moment, but that's been going on, is the intestines and the digestive system can feel mucked up and kind of stuck a little bit. So that's, as this forward movement's been happening now, that's clearing a little bit more too. Kind of the old denser consciousness that's been in there. It's kind of slow. Let's say it's kind of like slow, which affects the nervous system and the digestive system. And so that's clearing up now too. Just kind of heightening its consciousness and so your inner child, the part that was working with us earlier, it's like, well, thanks. I'm like, yep, sure thing. Because it's like, well, I'm moving on now and I feel more, it's like, I have to paraphrase because your inner child isn't saying this with words, but it's this feeling of like, it's more robust. It's more like, yeah, this is me. I've always been this. And I'm healing now in those old places. And I can just be who I have always been. So I guess anytime you guys want to chime in, because we'll just be in this kind of going forward and completing what was for a little while now.
Yeah, Rosemary, she asked earlier if you were talking about all past lives when you were talking about soul body in the beginning.
Wait, was I talking about all past lives?
Yeah. From my understanding, it's like healing the old patterns from old past lives, or
yeah. Yeah, all. Pretty much all. That's what's so crazy about this awakening thing that we're going through, because it's not just about healing. Like, before we started to wake up, we were simply described, we were focused on healing our issues, just healing. And then when the true self starts to come forward, it's not just about healing anymore. It's about being this, which then creates the healing stuff to be even more quicker. And it's about awakening now, which is different than just healing, right? So it's at the levels that's awakening now that's creating all this past life stuff to, on a deeper level, come forward and complete. Yeah.
And yeah, also just maybe quick comments when you were sharing about different colors, and now we are moving to a new way of being. It's like the image I got, it's just, we don't need to judge the new color before experience it, because we never know, we may love it more than the previous one. And yes, just that's image, and it was nice. And
yeah, and go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share a question from Marianne. Okay, so she's on YouTube. Thank you, brilliant. How can our physical bodies integrate and actualize these energies now physically? Actualize the new shape shift, paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm. It's such like the question that we're all facing, right? How do we be this? How do we let this body become, on a very, we could say, ground floor level? It's a process. So your body's already doing it. It's already doing it. And it takes time. It's not overnight. So, so I just need to share this too. So where the body is right now, in the amount of light it's able to be, imagine if 20 years ago we just snapped our fingers and we were here energetically, like it'd be too much. So the body knows what it's doing already. It's already doing it. The thing I could say that we can do to help it and to assist it on this certain level I'm seeing is when the denser consciousness comes up, when the old comes up, when that old emotionality in our bodies and like the stuff that triggers us comes up, or we just don't feel good. And this, what I'm about to say, everybody has to learn to do this in their own way, and it can take some time. Okay. There's this image of how do you surrender back? So let's say here's the thing that's triggered, whether it's a physical issue or an emotional feeling. Internally, you just feel yucky, right? Don't feel good. This is a consciousness of what was already inside of you that's being triggered. It's coming out. If it's coming up, it's coming out. So what we have the tendency to do is attach to it, right? And that's a huge knee-jerk reaction that we have, you know, the human, right? Attach to it. We look at it. We try to figure it out, right? And there's time to do that when necessary. So as this purge is happening, there's this experience of how do you surrender back into the process that's going on of becoming, you know, these energies and becoming this deeper self, and allow this energy to just move. And in that movement from the surrendered place, whatever you need to learn, it'll teach you. Whatever you need to know will be there. Sometimes it just needs to go. Sometimes there's something to learn. Sometimes there's something, you know. So it's this kind of like, how do you keep practicing letting the old energy go and purge out and glean whatever information you need to in the moment? And just with your consciousness, it's like the consciousness can keep practicing being this process that we're in, and kind of leaning back and letting the old self or the old energy go. So that's one answer that I want to say right now that's coming. And it's like, you know, when questions are asked, it's like everybody's this multifaceted jewel, and there's all these facets and all these answers to a question. And it's like, well, what answer comes in this moment today, you know? And so that's the answer that wants to come right now, is like, how do we practice surrendering back into this light or this process that's going on in us, and keep letting the old just kind of leave? Not by getting rid of it, right? But it's like, and that's the part I was saying, like, we all have to learn our own way of what does that feel like? When do we like, oh, I'm in, I know I'm in, because now, this moves. And that's the part that everyone has to find, right, on their own, of like, what does that feel like to surrender back in? How do I do that? It's like kind of getting onto a ride and finding your ride, you know, riding the wave, right? So that's what I want to say. Just practice letting the purge happen, but truly your system's already doing it. You're already doing it.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ambujam, and thank you, Marianne, for your question. And a question from Jenny. He said first, thank you. Would you share more what it looks like to know thyself? Pieces of the process of getting to know oneself.
Mm. Oh, such a good question. On the deepest level, the knowing is already here within us. It's like a living, breathing experience that is, so I have to kind of describe it in two ways. Our experience in this moment is we're still, like, we could say, two people. We're this awake self that our minds don't know what to do with, and that we keep kind of figuring it out. And then we're the ones that tune in to the awake self, or tune into our hearts. So the part of us that tunes in is still the part that has the questions, that's learning how to be the true self, that's like tuning in, right? And meanwhile, the self that this part's trying to know is already here. It is that. And so from a practice perspective, the parts of us that have questions, the parts of us that are looking for how to navigate and know what to do. And that's the part that we still are experiencing, right? Until we don't, whatever level. Like Spirit's like, in this moment, you're more, quote, awake than you actually think you are. Because the part that's trying will never figure it out, really, right? Because this is the part that's kind of going away. The true self's coming forward, right? So knowing thyself on one level is having the part of us that we still feel like we are, the part of us that tunes in, to keep putting all focus on self. And let self keep revealing and keep revealing and keep revealing and keep revealing and keep revealing. And over time, we could say the part that tunes in just kind of keeps merging and becoming one with the self that's already here. So on one level, we could say it's a, quote, meditation practice to take our awareness and just keep steeping in the self that's here in this moment, because there'll always be deeper self revealing, let's say over time, like a blossoming flower, right? We keep finding, part of us keeps finding different aspects of ourselves, right? But the true self's already here. And that's, the knowing is intrinsic, it's innate. So it's not like a separate experience, because it's one experience. Like knowing in self is one thing. And so this part of us can just keep steeping. Sometimes for me, when I'm in that experience of like, I'm tuning in to myself, a lot of times my practice is, I'm back in my awareness trying to be this. I just go, I'll just be this. And I energetically just like let go. Just kind of move into it and just kind of let go over and over and over. There's a awakening teacher named Adya Shanti, and he has referenced the dance, calls it the dance over the years. And he's like, we dance in and out until one day the dance is over. And the mind will have an idea of what that means. So that's why Spirit's like, you're actually more awake than you think you are, because the part that's looking for it is looking for it, versus it's already right here. So that's the best like I can share right now with words. You know, it's like a feeling, right? And we never judge, and I know this is easier said than done. We never judge that we still have us that's looking. We just don't. We just don't. This is it. This is the embodying process. This is the awakening. It's why it's like a ing. It's a verb, right? And how do we keep like being okay with our experience in this moment? Like, yep, there's still two of me, true self and the me that's looking around, right? We could say. So I don't know if that helps, but that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other thing I just want to say to that too is know thyself, and what that, it just keeps blossoming of what that truly means as we keep going on our path. It's like we just keep deepening in that, the core truth of what that is. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ambujam, and thank you, Jenny. She wrote gratitude and appreciation for your explanation of the knowing self experience. And Suzanne, she wrote, having these crazy mysteries illuminated is sanity saving. Thank you.
They are crazy mysteries.
And Sitara on YouTube, absolutely beautiful. Thank you for that explanation of surrender, Ambujam. It makes sense. Thank you. And a question from Rosemary. Is the inner child healing as a result of the soul becoming more self-aware? Thank you.
Yeah. So So on the truest level, everything is here, coexisting in one big fat space, let's say, and it's not linear. On another level, to describe it, we could say there's a soul body, all the energy bodies, and then human, and then all of our past lives. So as the soul shifts, it ripples through everything. And this inner child on these deeper levels now is like healing more deeply because of the soul is going through the self-awareness thing. And it's so like healing is so interesting how I've always seen it. It's like a mobile that hangs from the ceiling, like in a little kid's crib. If you just touch one little spot, the whole mobile, I never know how to say that word, the whole thing moves. And so as the human is awakening and healing, it's going, we could say it's rippling up, rippling sideways. As the soul is awakening to its true nature, it's going this way, right? So it's kind of like a seesaw, or like wherever you touch, it affects the whole. We're just not conscious of always of what parts are being, touched, right? So simple answer is yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ambujam. And also thank you, Rosemary. There is another, from Julie, question. Is the soul knowing itself as source, unique expression of source? She mentioned she is truly going into that co-creation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's the soul self-awareness now is recognizing itself as source. Yep. On its levels, we could say. It's kind of, it's like another way to describe this kind of interesting thing. And this is not, what I'm about to share is not a fixed static thing. Okay. The levels that the soul is self-realizing now, we could say is deeper, which is within you already. It's inside of you. Soul is inside, right? But the levels of soul consciousness that's becoming self-aware is we could say deeper or different than the human's awareness. And yet it's all the same. So the soul is becoming, we could say, because the soul doesn't have a mind or an ego, let's say, like our experience in this body is, it's how it experiences self-awareness is different because it doesn't have to go through all the channels that we have to go through, let's say, as a human. And so it has a more direct experience of what it's awakening to. As the human awakens, it has more it has mind, and it has emotions, and it has all the cellular memory. So there's a lot of channels kind of the awakening goes through, let's say, of by the time we go, oh, right? And yet it's simultaneously, it doesn't need to go through any channels. It's just happening, but yet it does go through the channels of how we experience it. So the soul, we could say, doesn't have to go through all those channels. It's just this deeper self-awareness of source, like who and what it really is. So it's awareness of who and what it really is, which is source or creator or creation itself. That is the levels it is becoming aware of. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you, Julie. We have a feedback, early feedback from Rose. What you have been speaking about and sharing is exactly what my soul was seeking to hear and integrate today. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've been given a beautiful gift of assurance and knowing I am not hopeless and overlooked. One day I feel joyful and on purpose, but another day, today, feeling that I have no reason and purpose for being here.
Yeah. Yep. What you just said of like, why am I even here? What does it matter? Versus, oh my God, I feel so on path, right? And everything in between. And when I was getting ready for the show, I'm really glad that she mentioned that. God, I got this like hair on my face driving me nuts. When I was getting ready for this show, and what her question just elicited in me was like, oh yeah, this thing. When we go into those feelings of why am I even here? I've tried everything, nothing's working. When am I going to manifest X, Y, and Z? it just feels like nothing's happening for me. And we can go into that despair and fear and hopelessness. In those moments, and this is what I was feeling when I started this before the show started, that I'm like, oh, I have to mention this. Do not be taken out. Do not allow yourself to be taken out because when those experiences happen, they can be extremely deep and devastating when we're feeling that I have no purpose here. Why am I even here? There can be so much noise and manipulation and dark energies and blah, blah, blah that can just love to get all up in there and amplify that helplessness. Do not allow yourself to be taken out. Feel your feelings, Spirit saying, feel your feelings. And there will be another wave that comes of, oh, I'm on purpose. I know it. Just hasn't quite manifested yet, right? So it's like, it's when we feel the despair and the fear and the upset and the aloneness that all my prayers aren't being answered. Where is everything? Where is everybody? Where's my tribe? Where's my relationship? Where's my home? Right? We can get into that extremely deep emotional place. And when you're at your lowest points, do not allow yourself to be taken out. Own those feelings. Like, this is how I feel. This freaking sucks right now. And I'm going to feel my feelings. And at some point, I'm going to rise again. I just will. It's the nature of me. So no, like what she said of like this back and forth of like hopelessness, despair. What am I even doing here? To, oh, there I am again. I can feel the divine, or I can feel light, or I can feel my being, you know? It's very normal right now to kind of do that back and forth. So hold space for when you could say, go down, knowing that you're just going to get back up. I remember like when I was a kid, we had this huge clown blow up thing, and you could like hit it, but it would never stay down. It would always like keep coming up, but it would go down, but it would always rise up. It would never just lie down. It couldn't because of the shape of the balloon thing, you know? So it's kind of like that. We can go down, but we will not stay down. And do not be taken out. That's the phrase. Do not allow yourself to be taken out. You're too important. Just period. And you're not too important because you're this, and this. You're still here. There's reasons why. And trust that which we cannot see when we're in that down phase, knowing we will get up. So yeah, so I want to say.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And that's very, very helpful, because once we understand and we become more aware of the cycles, and that's every cycle is just temporary, then we can, it helps to stay in our power.
Yeah.
Especially during the
like,
challenging.
Yeah, it's like, how do we stay in our power when we're feeling so defeated? That's really hard.
Yeah.
Right. And yet that practice of like surrendering with the defeatism, just being with it, being like, this is really normal. I'm scared. I want what I want. It's not happening. But I'm here. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ambujam, and thank you, Rose, for your feedback. And we will continue with the questions in a little bit. And for now, Ambujam, I would love if you can talk about the program you are offering. I'm putting the link on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. And also the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ambujam, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ambujam, AMBUJAM. There is also a special offer button on the live event page and later on the replay page. And the link is on YouTube video description. So there are two packages. It's the massive self-empowerment healing MP3 Buffett package, the first one. And the second one includes package A plus a live group power healing session, which will happen on October 21st. So would you like to share about those?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know this, so oneself reached out to me to invite me to be on his show, and the yes was so dang strong. I'm like, when is your soonest thing? I gotta come on. And so I had like 2 weeks or a week and a half to create a package. And when the yes came, it was almost instantly that these MP3s showed up. And I was like, interesting. Because again, I'm not like choosing what to do. I don't know. I just am available for what wants to happen. So the first part of package, both A and B, are these 4 sessions that I did of, it's all based on self-empowerment and helping you, find that north, right? Be in that north. The first 4 MP3s are in 3 sections each. There's a teaching, then there's a guided meditation about the teaching, and then there's accelerated healing to help you guys then be in the teaching that came through. So the first one is a how to navigate the unknown, and the fact that we actually are the unknown always. And why the unknown is so much more here now is because the true self is that, really. But our minds call it the unknown, So that first MP3 is about talking about the unknown, giving you guys a meditation of how to feel that, how to be that more easily, and then doing healing to help your system, embody being the unknown. And then the second one is receiving. So again, all these just came through to do. So the second one is receiving, and that the truth of you is already receiving. It's already happening. There's no blocks. There's no walls. It's just not. Where the quote blocks come from is the fears, the hurts, that we've experienced. And so that specific MP3 talks about receiving and then takes you through a guided meditation to help you be with the parts that are scared, that are hurt, and that they come forward and that we work with those in the accelerated healing. And then the third one is just true self-empowerment. What does that even mean? Because it's not an emotional thing. It's not a mental thing, because we've tried to be empowered. It doesn't work, right? So the truth of self-empowerment's already here. What is that? And then there's that guided meditation to help you guys just really feel that for yourself. And then the accelerated healing. And then the fourth part of that series is just deep integration and embodiment of those first 3. So that fourth part is just a deepening and a healing and accelerated healing and aligning. Then I felt like I wanted to add the other MP3s. And so the next one is how to trust yourself. The next one is how to find, know, and embody your path. And then the last one is what I call self-inquiry and discernment series. And that whole series is to help you guys know the difference between your mind, your emotions, and your heart, and to take you through your own direct experiences of what is the difference. So those are all the MP3s that I felt guided. And then I wanted to also do, for package B, I wanted to do a live group power healing on October 21st, which is like probably be here in a second, right? And that's really helping to connect and align and deepen and strengthen and fortify your self-empowerment, and then clearing everything that you guys will bring, doing our accelerated healing, clearing, awakening, reconciling of what is it when we meet on the 21st? What is it that you're going through in the moment that's related to you being self-empowered, and all these old choices and experiences and reactions and stories and beliefs that will come to that session that are ready for quicker healing and then helping you embody in self-empowerment. So that's my package. I'm looking forward to it. Our live session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ambujam. As I said the last time, I'll just say, like, I really love the work that you do, and really I trust that because I experienced this myself. I've seen results in my life, and also in my being, the way like I make choices, the way my gifts are being open, and how it is affecting every part of my life. So I feel like when I contact you and then you you accepted the invitation. I was really happy that you are joining us, and also excited about the support, the healing and guidance that us here, like the audience and myself, will be experiencing with you. So thank you. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And yeah, so everyone, I highly recommend that you sign up for one of these two packages. And again, I will put again the link on the chat boxes on YouTube and Zoom. And also you can visit the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ambujam, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ambujam, AMBUJAM. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live event page or later on the replay page. And also the link is on YouTube video description. And let's see for the question. Also, everyone, you can, if you want to talk to Ambujam, like ask a question, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand, or pressing *9 on your phone. So I want to share a question from Susan. I think. Yeah, Susan, can you talk about how our expressions and desires will come forward as our soul moves? Is or will there be a new purpose for our being?
Oh, that's a good one. So the first thing that comes for that is that you will be, quote, spoken to in vibration, because the soul is vibration. We could say how it, quote, speaks to you. It's a vibration. As the soul is going through its shift, within you will start coming forward the information. So you don't have to try. You don't have to think about, will my purpose change? Will it be the same? What will I be doing? Don't even have to. It'll start as vibration, as energy, as information. It'll start coming through when ready. So that's good. You don't have to do anything. So as it knows, let's say the soul is like behind us, even though it's not, but let's just say energetically it's behind us or up. As it starts to choose and know what it wants to choose, that'll then ripple down to the human. You'll start to have knowings and experiences of how that wants to be brought forward. But you don't have to, quote, wait. Like you don't have to just sit and be like, well, I'm going to wait until my soul figures it out. Right? It's like living, being, breathing in the moment. Energy is what's going on. And so you just keep listening and feeling and just kind of allowing it to unfold. And it's not like 1 day, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 month. It's this. And this is hard to describe. Again, and this part I'm about to talk about is the future. So we have to take it with a grain of salt, because anything can change at any time. Something can all of a sudden be quicker, more ready, faster. Okay. As the soul is choosing right now, let's say, and it really feeling the self-awareness and how it wants to express that, and then it ripples through and then into the human, let's say, even though it's simultaneously happening all at once. Okay. September, October, November is kind of like, and then Spirit's talking to me too. It's kind of like this give or take time frame of, quote, how long it takes to kind of have the soul come up with, I'll just say kind of more of a solid plan, lack of a better word. It's very busy. It'll take some time, is really what we're trying to say. It takes some time for the soul to actually move into its next expressions. 2024 is when these expressions really become more concrete, I could say, in you. And it's all perfect timing, because your human self, as it's awakening and embodying and in that process, it ripens, it gets ready for, it's like perfect timing. When the soul's ready to have more of a, quote, concrete experience, it knows it starts to come through the human, and then your human is ready because of all the work you've done between now and 2020, 2024. So it's like, it's all simultaneously happening at once, but it's going to take some time to really kind of have a more, quote, solid experience of what we're talking about here. And Spirit's just saying how, even though we've kind of given it a time frame, let's say, we have to let the time frame go, because anything could shift at any moment. All of a sudden you could have a really solid experience of what it is that wants to be expressed next. And it can go both ways. It can also take longer too, but it's not because you did something wrong or because you have issues. Nope. It's timing. There's a lot. It's almost like if you put something in the oven and it has to bake, there's a lot happening in the chemistry of that thing that's baking, but you don't have to like figure it out. The oven's doing it. The heat of the oven is making it bake, right? The soul's got it. Soul's doing it. It's just when we start to feel those movements of, oh, I know what to do, is going to just take the time it's going to take. But I think the basis of it is it's not an overnight, quick kind of thing. So just keep listening, feeling, just paying attention to yourself and your inklings.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ambujam. I had a comment on that, but I forgot it. It's been happening recently, several times on the calls.
It's like, oh well.
The feedback from Melissa. So grateful for this, Ambujam. Old patterns resurfacing pulled me into that deep despair yesterday, and today overwhelmed with grief of my son's crossing, as if it just happened again. Even breath was leaving my body. Listening to you is comforting and reorienting me back to truth.
I'm really glad that she talked about like this deeper, feels like it's happening all over again. I want to say two things about that. The layer that I want to talk to right now is because of this deeper awakening that's going on, not just for the soul, let's say, but everything that we're going through in these higher levels, we can feel things almost deeper than we've ever felt them on this like emotional stuff that we've had or levels that we've had. And it can feel like, oh my God, this is louder than ever. It's stronger than ever. Or I thought I, quote, healed this issue thing before. Why is it back? It's coming out of like the mud under the lake, and it's very, very, very deep. And then just on a grief level, as she probably knows, grief can surprise you. And Spirit saying, oh man, when there's a loss, the grief that's in our bodies can, when the psyche is ready for deeper levels, it will come. And that's why it can be surprising, because it can feel like what she's saying about, it feels like it's happening all over again. It's just happening again. And rightfully so, because of the layers of grief that's here now, because you can feel those now. And then I hear her son, right? It's her son. Hear her son kind of laughing and being like, well, duh, Ma, come on. You know you got this. And I know that he's basically saying like he's not around physically anymore to say she's got this and to remind her with his eyes like he used to, or his energy. But he's reminding her like, you've got this. He's just very happy and playful. So yeah, it's interesting how the body protects itself with grief like that. And when it's ready to come, it will come.
Yeah. Thank you, Ambujam, and thank you, Melissa. Much love. A question from Jasmine. Wondering if you have guidance regarding being in the moment, as I'm feeling more and more present in the moment and loving it overall, versus having a plan basically for survival. How will I get the rent paid? What's next?
Oh
I'm
my
right
God,
in it. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. I'm right in it, but it's so new for me to not have a game plan. I wonder if you have advice, like don't worry, I know when it's time to do the next thing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you and your offerings.
And these questions are just like rock bottom questions, right? Like it's so core. How do you know thyself? How do you deal with these fears when you're just present? You can't help it, right? I can't remember the other ones right now, but your questions are so like, you know, the presence in you specifically. I'm sorry, what's her name again?
Let me check. Jasmine.
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 So I have to speak to you very specifically. And this is what's so interesting about how each one of us experiences our awakening. It's so unique. And where our human experience, like how our human self is to be with our awakening is really different for each one of us. And I just need to share that before I go into this. I remember doing a reading with somebody years ago, and every time I would tune in to see what was happening, their awakening for them was creating a very cosmic experience. Like, I'm no one and I'm just the cosmos, where somebody else doesn't have that experience at all. They might feel a deeper sense of self, or they might have more peace. But this person, their awakening was taking them really like wide into the cosmos. And it was such a teaching of how, even though at the end of the day, the true self is source, right? It's how source is, it's how we're experiencing our awakening is very, 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 very specific to each of us, of how we are to be our own, quote, flavors of our individuality in our awake self. And so for you, Jasmine, this presence, when you talk about this, it's like it is coming out from all crevices in your system. It's like, it's so, it's almost like it is your guide right now. And it's coming out, coming out, and coming out. And it's like, oh my God, all I want to do is be this, because it feels so dang good. And in that presence, and this is where the question gets answered, which is, you already answered it, but in that presence is all this consciousness. And it's like, again, you can't help but want to live there because it feels so good. And I could say it's calling you, but it's not calling you like I'm being called to live in my presence. It's like, it's becoming such a huge part of you that, again, you can't help it but want to, right? Within that presence is, we could say, molecule of consciousness that is very aware. We could say it's very alive. It's very busy in a sense. The old survival stuff of how do I pay rent and these type of things is not in the presence at all. It's like it's on the outside. It's like a container on the outside. And that's the you that, you know, you're used to being, right? That was Jasmine and all of its, everything it's contained. This presence is like pushing out the container of Jasmine. And like you said, this is really new for you. Like, you can't help but want to be this and live from here. And it will guide you. And I want to say, just keep bringing your awareness to where you feel called, which is, I just want to be this right now. This is what I'm about right now, is this. And it's just this massive presence that keeps coming out more and more and more. The fear, again, because it's on the outside, the presence within you knows how to deal with that when it gets scared about survival. And this is the hardest thing about our awakening. If none of us had survival fear, it'd be no big deal. Like, I'll surrender. I don't care. Oh, I'll take that risk of saying no to that person or yes to that, or I don't care if my rent's paid, right? But we don't have that experience. We're very attached still, and we have survival, right? That is, the survival stuff is the impedance to the experience of how peaceful and how powerful, or how like surrendered the true self is, because our survival stuff keeps getting triggered of how am I gonna, right? So the presence within you, and really within all of us, but because it's so specific to you of how loud it is right now, how large it is, it will move you. So your answer is already in the question, that you wrote, right? And the part that gets scared is not who you are anymore. And yet it's still there. So try this. When the fear comes of how am I going to pay my rent? Let's use that as an example. Feel it, like own it, be true, be honest that you feel that, right? Just, yep. And then allow that presence to meet it and see what it wants to teach you and how it guides you to be with that survival stuff. So that's what I want to say. And I just want to share my own experience really quickly. Is when I had my initial awakening, because we all have our initial awakening, right? And then it keeps happening throughout our lives, right? It gets bigger, bigger, bigger. When I had my initial awakening, I was living in New York City and I had just moved there. And I thought I moved there to grow my practice, but I moved there to embody, basically. And my whole life went away and I couldn't control anything anymore. I couldn't do everything that I was used to manifesting, of how I would manifest business and all this stuff. None of it worked. And I'm sitting in my studio apartment with rent that just quadrupled from where I was living in this small town of Massachusetts. And I couldn't do anything but lay in bed all day. And I'm like, I'm screwed. I was so scared all the time, like solidly scared all day. I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't have a rule book. I didn't know. And yet there was this like peacefulness in me, even though I was terrified because I couldn't make money. I couldn't work, couldn't do anything. And that was 15-ish. Well, it's probably longer now, maybe 18 years ago or so. And I did not know how my life was going to work out. I couldn't for the life of me be okay with that experience because I'm like, how am I going to pay my rent? I can't work. I can't even get out of my bed. I'm flattened by this thing. And somehow everything worked out. I don't know how. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And now having 20/20 vision or whatever you call it, hindsight, I understand what was happening. And then eventually this life in me that was coming forward, that's what started to live its life. That's what got up one day and stuff started happening. And my life changed after that. And so we don't know in those survival moments how we're going to get through it. And somehow something happens and something happens and we just keep going. But we're not doing it anymore. This is, So that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
It's the courage, right? To let go when we're scared. It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. I mean, but once we trust, maybe we have experiences in sometimes others not, but when we have that trust, it's, I don't know, it just brings some feeling of peacefulness, and at the same time, maybe more confidence or feeling more self-empowered at the same time. Yeah, Jasmine Shearers, thank you so much. And a question from Manisha. Hello, Ambujam. Hello, oneself. What I am understanding from my life's journey are surrender, divine timing, trust in the divine. Would love to hear what you can explain. Throw some light, please. When the soul has learned the lessons as per one's soul's contract, is that when one can experience the desires? Thank you.
It's not an either or black or white. It's during. If I understand her question right. So you don't have to wait for, quote, the soul to learn what it needs to in this experience it's having for something new to come, because it's all at once. It's not linear. It's not a this or that or black or white. And what's interesting that you asked that question, because Spirit's chiming in. They're like, of course you'd ask that question, because there's an old part of you that believes in the black and white. when it has a this and a that or a black and a white, it feels safe. It's like, see, told you. I proved to myself again, I'm right. There's only this and there's only that. There can't be any gray and there can't be anything in the middle. And so that part, living like that has been safe. And yet you can't live like that anymore, right? So part of that question comes from that aspect a little bit of like, it can own, like it can't really get the fact that everything can happen all at once and you don't have to wait for something to only be this or that before the new comes. Like it doesn't quite compute. It's kind of like, I know that's true, but like it, because we could say it's a mental, it's a linear kind of mind thing. And Spirit saying, you needed to live like that to be safe. It's kind of like a trauma response, a mechanism that kept you safe for a really long time. And then basically this part of you that I'm talking about is like 7 years ago, is kind of where it's sitting. Like it's not your present day self anymore. It's like kind of back there. And so because the awakening that you're going through, it kind of creates it to be back there, and your awakened self is more of the present day you. But it's so interesting to see that part that Spirit's pointing out of, it was very like that because it had to be, and it worked for a while, right? Yeah. If she wants to say something about that black and white part, I'd be really interested because it's so interesting.
Yeah, Manisha, you can type your feedback. So I will read this when she writes it. A question from Sylvia. It feels like this has never been done before, even though time is weird and all happening. Is that what you're feeling?
What's the first part? Hasn't been done before?
Because she asked the same question earlier when you were talking about soul body, and she wrote it back here. So I think it's what we are experiencing currently. So
has never been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like never. And then she mentioned the time part, like the time is.
Time is weird and all happening.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we've never been here before. Like ever. And I remember in 2022, like December, I want to say, I was seeing how the soul and all these parts of us are literally ending our soul history. And I was like, dang, what? Like it's where we are now has never, ever, ever happened before. And it's because of the awakening, because we're only to be the quote true self in this body. So it makes sense that all these identities and how we've lived and how we've been, if it's been from an identity perspective, can't happen anymore. It's over. And yeah, it's like, it has never been like this before. And like Monsef, when you were saying, like when you trust and that confidence is there and that self-empowerment, it's like when we have our survival fears, but we feel just this deep sense of like trusting this flow, this process. And like that level of trust that has nothing to do with like the mind trying to trust or the emotions trying, like we just feel it. That's where the true self-empowerment is. That's where like true trust is. It's like we are trust itself, really. We are that already. It's not something that we try to trust. And that's one of the things I actually talk about in the MP3 thing is like, what is trust? It's not, what's so interesting about being a human is we need something to trust in, is normally how trust shows up. I either trust you, I trust me, I trust life. I have to trust something, right? Or not trust something. But we could say that's on this like identity, emotional, mental level. What trust really is who and what we really are. It's like an aspect of ourselves. And we just feel it, like it just is what it is. And it's not because we trust in something's going to go away or something's going to come. That's an emotional, mental thing. That's an attachment thing. This true trust of that which we already are, it's not in something, because we are it. And it's like, that's where that true empowerment is. That's where that confidence is, of like, you just feel it, you know? So I just wanted to add to that too. Yeah, we've never been here before. Ever.
Yeah, thank you, Ambujam. And
It's
yeah,
wild, really.
yeah, thank you, Sylvia, for your question. And yeah, Manisha, she wrote, wow, thank you. It was like a safety mechanism keeping me safe to have had this mindset. Thank you, Ambujam.
Mindset's a good word for it too, because it is a mindset, right? Yeah. And again, she needed that, but doesn't anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, also maybe just quick comments like about time, because like also from my experience, I'm still on that process. It's once we change our experience with time, our relationship with time, like this shift becomes maybe more easier, because many times we are, how to say, more like reacting to time. We feel like it's like time is a field and we are inside of it, instead of it's just something that's part of the human experience. But yeah, so yeah, thank you very much, Ambujam, for all the guidance. Yeah, it was really powerful, very eye-opening, and yeah, like every time, it's very related to the current energies, what we are experiencing, and it's always to touch on something that we are confused about, and then it just gives a lot of clarity, and we understand this, and then the experience toward that becomes easier afterwards. So thank you so much for the support and the healing.
It's my honor, my pleasure. Love being with you guys. So good. It's like all the information just comes. So cool. So I just want to thank you guys for being you and bringing all the teachings and guidance and information. And yeah, so good.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
One of the things I'm experiencing today too, and it's kind of cliche to say, but it's so true. Like, we're all going through this together. So like, everyone that's here and that's interested in the show or the subject matter, we're all going through super similar experiences of, like, just even looking at the questions that came through, right? It's like, we are all going through it. And it can feel like we're all, because we're not all physically together, right? So it can feel like we're just alone in our centers of the universe. But we're literally going through the same, what is going on, and feeling these feelings that we can't name with words. But when they're spoken to, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going through this too, right? It's like this gets spoken to. And so I just want to remind you guys, like, we're all going through this and we're all, quote, figuring it out as we go, because it's so brand new. And we're just listening and watching and feeling. We're all doing it, And if we all were in a room together physically, everyone would have their perspective of what's going on, and then we'd have the whole picture, right? Because we all see and feel things very specifically and differently, right? So what I'm sharing is like my experience of things, right? And then when you share your experience of things, it's like, ah, yes. So I just want to thank you guys. And I love you lots. And thank you, Montse.
Yeah, thank you, Ambujam. And yeah, what you mentioned, it's like, for me, it feels like connection with a family. And also I experienced that on the group power healings that you do, especially when I was traveling the past years, because there were times either I didn't meet people or maybe didn't get along with them. So there was some feeling of being alone. And every time there was group power healing, I felt excited. It felt like meeting a family, feeling heard and seen at that time. So
it's so beautiful.
yeah.
Yes, people
So
have emailed me to share, like, I've never met these people, but I feel like they understand me. I feel seen. I feel like they're my family and I'm welcomed. Like, it's such a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah. Yeah, again, thank you very much. And everyone, thank you so much for being here today, sharing with us this experience and co-creating with us this experience. So thank you so much. Thank you for those who asked the questions. Thank you for your feedback and comments. And yeah, so again, I really recommend that you sign up for one of the packages that's Ambujam is offering us. And the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ambujam, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ambujam, AMBUJAM. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page or later on the replay page. Also, the link is on Zoom and YouTube chat boxes, and the link also on YouTube video description, so many places. And yeah, so thank you. Yeah, just want to mention the two packages again. The first one includes a massive self-empowerment healing MP3 Buffett package, and package B includes package A plus live group power healing session, which will happen on October 21st. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye-bye, everyone.